You got it.
We should be live. It's still, the little bar is still moving. Here we go. All right, we are live.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, on Wednesday, August 18th, 2021 at 5 o'clock, I'd like to call the Woodford County Library District Board of Trustees meeting to order. With that being said, I would like to just interject and take a short period of time for a moment of silence for our employee and friend Emily, who passed away during the past month. If we could just take a moment of silence. Thank you. I think according to the plan of the minutes, we are called to order, and I'm going to let our architect and the Codell representative Dalton squeeze in on front as we normally do, so they can give us their good news and be on their way. So I turn the meeting over to Tom or Dalton.
Yeah, Mo, and thank you. I appreciate that. Dalton, if you don't mind, I'll defer to you and let you explain the work accomplished in the last month and the work anticipated in the next month.
All right, so this month we've finished tying all of our rebar for our grade beams. We mobilized our drill rig. We began and finished drilling for the micropile foundation system. We completed setting micropiles and grouting and continued the lead-based paint abatement. The electricians began retrofitting LED light fixtures in the existing building. And for the next month, it will be pretty much the same thing. It'll be all foundation work and concrete.
Yeah, and to that, Mo, I would add that at the last meeting, we talked about a cistern that was found in the footprint of the addition. That work has been since completed. And I would agree with what Dalton stated. I was visited briefly yesterday. The micropiles appear to be in place. Grade beams and concrete will no doubt follow quite shortly. And then just in a sort of just a wandering commentary on other odds and ends. Payment application 004 from 3 of the bid packages totals about $101,000. You all having trouble hearing me?
Yeah, I can't hear you.
There's a little background noise.
Yeah, this is apparently the cheapest headset in Lexington. Is that any better?
I can hear you.
Okay, I'll try to be loud, which is my kids tell me is very easy. So the current pay application is a little over 100,000, and we will evaluate that at the progress meeting tomorrow and give an opinion to Karen or give any questions to Dalton. As you all know, special inspections are required by the state for some of the critical components of the work, rebar being one, concrete being another. And Ellie Gregg is doing that work for us. They have an invoice of $259.50, which we reviewed and recommend payment. And as far as change orders go, at the last board meeting, I had noted a pricing response of $4,812.75 for some plantings that we added to the front corner there at the Mattingly Law Office. We believe those were going to be so affected by construction that it was worthwhile to replace. So, and it was questioned how that sum was arrived upon. So I sent to Karen shortly after the last progress meeting that summary of costs, and our landscape architect reviewed that and thought it was reasonable pricing. But if you all have concerns, we can chat through any of those.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I just didn't see it, but it still didn't tell us how much the plants were. Like it said plants and materials, this much, mulch, this much, but it listed each individual plant, but it didn't tell us like the shrub was this much, this was this much, this was this much.
I'm trying to open that change order as we speak.
Or did I just miss that?
I thought it was there, but
Well, it says each individual plant. It tells us what size it is and where's it going, but it never told us what each specific plant is costing.
oh, you're correct. Even on this list, I don't see a simple line item. And we can certainly request such from Rising Sun. I doubt that it will deviate, but I don't mind doing that if that makes anyone feel better about it.
And did we get any other proposals from any other landscaping companies?
Dalton would be able to answer how much, may be able to answer if other sources were sought.
We sent the proposal request out to all of the contractors on site, but Rising Sun was the only one that submitted pricing.
I just, for that many plants, that still seems like a lot of money. Am I the only one that thinks that?
Well, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 plantings plus a fair amount of ground cover. And I don't mind at all seeking the detailed pricing that you're after. And this isn't time sensitive, so perhaps we can ask for detailed pricing and ask for multiple responses.
Tom, this is Mo. I think the general feeling was the 4,000 was high. We did give the go-ahead for it, but since it's not time sensitive, maybe if you could just have them take another look at it, put a little pressure on them, and then see if there's a guarantee on the plantings for most of these nurseries give you a year. If they die for whatever reason, they'll give you a free plant of the same size.
Yeah, and Mo, I didn't recall getting approval on this. I remember getting approval on the cistern, but again, my memory is due to be suspect. But no,
maybe we didn't.
Well, I don't disagree with any of your comments. We can certainly seek more competitive pricing. We can ask for a detailed evaluation of each item, and I believe I'll have to go back and see. Your point about the warranty is well taken. Because we didn't have plantings previously, I don't see in this proposal an explicit comment for a warranty, although typically everything is warranted for 1 year. So,
all right, I just double checked in the July 24th meeting, and it says the board will look into the issue before deciding. So we haven't really decided yet. See what you can do for us to get maybe a little better price and a little more specifics.
Okay, I'll be happy to.
There is a 1-year warranty
Okay.
in their contract.
Okay. Thank
Proposal.
You. Okay, I'll chase that down and report to you at the next board meeting. We are waiting on a pricing response for a few proposal requests. There were 3 that are outstanding. You all probably remember and grimace a little bit at the fallen cornice that fell off of the front of the existing flower basket. And I'll talk a wee bit further about that in a moment. There was a fair amount of lead-based paint that was on that we're seeking a credit. And another proposal request was we are adding new window treatments. You all have some existing window treatments there on the west side of the building and a few other spots. And we're adding new. There were 2 manual window treatments that we had down in the new lounge cafe area that was requested that those be changed to manual. So we wait pricing on that. And the last item, you probably remember from the last board meeting, was the mayor was agreeable, and so was the state, to the addition of a handicap ramp there on the new Main Street sidewalk. So we'll be talking about that hopefully at the next board meeting. And to touch upon that sheet metal cornice, you all probably remember at the last board meeting, contacting a number of parties. The best price I found was $50,000 from a company in Detroit. Since then, I drug Bryant's sheet metal out, and they gave me a stunningly low price of $2,665.
Wow.
Now, that does not include, there's a wood framing, internal framing that connects that to the building. Doesn't include that. It doesn't include the scaffolding or lift to get that installed. But it's a far more promising number. I've also reached out to them for pricing on what a mock-up would cost. Before we march down the road, I would prefer to spend a wee bit of money on a mock-up to make sure that it satisfies both you and the Board of Architectural Review. So, but as of this moment, they haven't gotten back with me. So that's the direction I'm hoping to go. I just need to get more information, and we'll come back to you all hopefully next month. Along with that, I think at the last board meeting, I mentioned there's also the cornice is at the top of the flower basket. A metal entablature occurs just above the storefront parallel. And on that one, when I was up on a lift, I could get a 12-inch blade up into the backside of that area. I suspect a lot of that framing is rotten and needs to be replaced. So when I come up with a solution for the cornice, I would like to include removal of the entablature there below it and rebuilding the wood framing so that remains on the building without a problem. I also mentioned at the last board meeting that there's a grouping of 6 or 7 2x probably 12 beams that holds up all the masonry on the second floor. That there is some evidence of splitting of 2 in the same location. And you probably remember that we were going to issue a PR to plate that, put a steel beam or a steel plate and a steel channel, and then the through bolts to stiffen that whole assembly up. And then a last associated thing in the same neighborhood is our glazing there at the new storefront is relatively dark for reasons of a very intrusive eastern sun. And we will delete the display shelving that was immediately behind that. And all those things are sort of in the same neighborhood. So I'm hoping to issue that as a proposal request in one fell swoop. Just a tidbit of information. The interior demolition of the building, there was a discovery of one cast iron column that matches those that are on the outside of the building. We don't have a need for it, but it's been placed in your library basement in case there should ever be a need. And unless I'm overlooking something, Dalton or Karen, that's all I have for new business. The old business I have is, we talked about any verbiage or size change you all might want to the cast plaque. And we talked about any identification that might alter for the local history room in the gilt letters that were specified. So yeah, that's all of the new business and all the old business, but please jump in if I overlook something.
Is there any other discussion on this or any of these topics?
Yes. So I've got the paperwork for the 4 change orders, and I believe that I submitted that to the board packet. It looks like we're going to keep the Rising Sun, the 4,812. That's going to be put on hold. So I'll pull that one out. And there was the charge for $5,862.13 for the cistern. And I believe there was verbal approval before I had the paperwork on that one. Is that correct? Okay, so I'll be getting signatures on this paperwork from a board member. There's a credit of 2408.36 from Babcon and a credit of $1,030.94 from Gray Bar Electric. So I guess if you want to, I don't know if you want to approve all of those for signatures, minus the Rising Sun,
Right, the landscaping.
we could hold on to. And I'd be happy to, I think, Patrick could sign this when I have him sign checks.
Is there any other discussion on those three items to be paid?
Credits are always good.
Yes, we are. And I want to thank Tom very much, and we're looking forward to more of them.
What one hand giveth, the other taketh away.
Yeah. I'm looking for a motion to pay those three bills that Karen mentioned and
I'll
leaving.
make a motion.
the landscape. Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Second.
All right, and motion carried. All in favor?
Aye.
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 So that was passed unanimously. Tom, I would just like to interject one thing. Magistrate McGill, I want to just mention, this is probably the most expensive storefront on Main Street in Versailles history. And it made me think about it, and I haven't had a chance to go talk to Patty or anybody on the Historical Architectural Board. But at some point, they must have a limit on how much has to be spent to keep the old look, knowing that good architecture, good construction, and reproduction materials, we could darn near put a brand new front on it that looks as good as the old one. I think, Tom, you would agree with us on this, but we've committed to the rebuilding. That's just a comment.
Mo, I agree with you, and I suspect most of your board members do. That same observation was made probably by your predecessor there, the board president. And we asked that very question to the Board of Architectural Review, and it was rejected. And I believe my experience with Board of Architectural Reviews, and that's not the extremity of I haven't done so many of those. I've presented that in Lexington, Louisville, and Versailles. I will say Versailles is more flexible than most jurisdictions I'm familiar. Actually, to their credit, when I advised them that the cornice had fallen, they gave me options to reconstruct that out of polyurethane or other more contemporary materials. The problem with that is we have like 27 feet of cornice. Most manufacturers aren't interested. This is all custom, and it's not enough work for it. But I agree with you that it could have been pulled down and replicated. There are evidence of similar things all over Europe and the U.S., but that's not typical of historic preservation boards. I don't doubt the expense of it. You're exactly right, but that's nothing that was permitted.
All right. Any other discussion for our architect or Dalton? All right, Tom, we thank you very much, as always, for showing up and giving us succinct details. I'll be looking forward to seeing you next month.
Well, Mo, I always appreciate it. You all have been sweethearts to let me and Dalton go early. And like I said, we stopped by. I think the work is progressing well. Hopefully, you'll see some steel, maybe even by the next progress meeting. That always gives it form and shape, which is encouraging. But no, I appreciate it. Look forward to it. With any luck, I'll be over there tomorrow for a progress meeting with Patrick. And as always, if you all have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me or ask Karen to pass through questions, comments.
Good. Thank you very much, both of you.
Okay. Good night,
Let's
everyone.
moving on. Let's have the approval of the July minutes. Everybody has those in front of them. Going through them real quickly, we brought up the subject of the landscape charges. I don't know if we want to jump forward to the history report to see. We were satisfied with the name Woodford County History Room. Are we still good with that? Karen, I know, mentioned in her report, she's trying to get a hold of the fiscal court to report our stance on the tax situation, which we voted on. Any discussion on the minutes from that meeting on the 21st? If not, I'm looking for a motion to approve them.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Molly.
Do you want to know about typos to fix?
Why don't you talk to whoever was a recording secretary afterwards? And
Okay.
I think according to Robert's rules of order, we can go and change those after the fact.
All right,
As
thank
long
you.
as- As long as the meaning is not changed and it's just a spelling typo.
Thank you.
And that would be Stacy Thurman.
All right, sorry, Stacy. Once again, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting?
So moved.
Second,
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
How many votes have we got so far? I counted 2 or 3.
You got, I think you have 3.
All right. Any
Wait.
opposed to accepting the minutes? Minutes have therefore been accepted 3-0. Moving on to the Friends of the Library report.
Okay, we did not meet this month. We went through the calendar earlier this year and chose a few months to not meet, and this was one of them. So I know
Very
we're
good.
planning on some Twilight Festival activities, and I'll have more information next month.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Woodford County Historical Society rep.
Good evening. It's nice to see all of you again, and I thank you very much for allowing me to be gone for a couple of months and for my friends that filled in for me, Ruth Ann and Wayne. I had to get a good chuckle over your typo in the minutes because I'm the secretary for the board, and every month we have one person on our board who knows exactly how to find all of my typos. So that gave me a good chuckle, but I'm glad to know, Mo, that we can approve the minutes and correct those later. Thank you for that piece of information. We are going to begin having programs again at the Historical Society on August the 26th at 6:30. Mike Burkich, who was a former teacher at the high school, is doing a presentation on Cassius Marcellus Clay. He's done programs for us before on General John Buford and also on Jesse James. So we're looking forward to having a meeting together again. We are requiring the people that attend to wear masks. I'm really excited that we've started the cataloging with the library, and I have been privileged to meet Clara, who's going to be a part of the history room, and she and I spent about an hour together touring the Historical Society and letting her get a good handle on what materials are there. And so that was great, and looking forward to moving ahead with this project.
All right, Susan, did your group accept that Woodford County History Room?
As far as I know, yes.
So as far as you know, it's as good as gold.
I think it's a done deal. Yes, sir.
Right. Make sure that gets into the minutes. Any questions for Susan?
So I was going to just add that Rebecca, our tech services person, and Claire, the new history librarian, will be visiting the Scott County Public Library and the Boyle County Public Library to talk to their folks.
Oh,
So I
great.
think that'll be a good, big help for them. So that's next week.
Thank you for putting that together. And maybe next month, if you think it's deemable, Karen, we could have them come give us a short report or at least to introduce themselves.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Very good. Okay, the Versailles Library report. Is John there?
Can I say one thing?
Sure, go ahead, Molly.
Historical Society, they were going to start getting the information together that they wanted on the plaque. Have they started working on that? No?
No, I don't believe so. No. No. And I'm not sure that I have a clear understanding on the size, and it's, I don't know that Wayne brought that back to me. So maybe Karen can give me some more detail on that, and I can bring that to you next month, because we'll have another board meeting at the Historical Society before you all meet again.
Yes, we can do that.
All right. If you would take care of that, Susan, we'd appreciate that.
I'll do my best, Mo. Thank you.
Thank you. The Versailles Library report, Karen, will that be you or is John there?
I didn't actually, John is not here today.
Okay.
I don't really have anything to report off of the agenda for the Versailles Library. Stacy, did you have anything to add?
I can just kind of combine like I did last month, if that's okay.
That's
Yeah.
fine, Stacy. Thank you.
We've really slowed down a little bit since, summer reading has ended. And I apologize. Last minute, I thought we should probably have our summer reading numbers for you all, but I called and couldn't get those. But I could tell you that we had about 500 adults sign up for summer reading. And Heather said that the little yellow cards that they could fill out to register for a prize for adults, there were 2,218 of those turned in. So people really did show up and participate in summer reading, and maybe soon we can get out those numbers to you for the official numbers for that. But we have still been having some in-person programming. People are coming to our story times, especially the parents and kids. I would say about half of the people who attend wear masks. I think that's kind of a fair assumption. So people are still coming and they're checking out books and they're attending programs for now. Just two things that I thought I'd bring up that have come up recently. I got a call today. I haven't been able to talk to Karen about this, about the Midway Fall Festival, which is a huge event in Midway, as all of you know, and did not have it last year. And the library used to participate in a lot of festivals and things around town. We have not, mainly for staffing reasons this summer. But they asked if we wanted to be in charge of a children's activity, and that will be September 18th and 19th. So it's coming up pretty soon. And they even said the Midway Business Association would help fund that, because that's one big thing. You have hundreds of people that come through for the Fall Festival. So they would be willing to work with us. And they mentioned maybe buying a bunch of those little pumpkins, and we could set up a pumpkin painting stand for kids. I think because it's an outdoor activity, it would be a really good way for us to stay involved, maybe in a little safer capacity, but we can talk about that more later. And then I did get the go-ahead today from Midway University to continue with our Everything Equine program, which again, it's not quite outdoors, but it's in a huge open barn area, and they feel safe to go ahead and proceed with that. So we will start planning, and that would be October the 9th.
What kind of attendance do you get to that equine program?
It has grown every year. Of course, we couldn't do it last year. I want to say the year before we had over 300 people, between 300 and 400 people to show up. And we had a pizza truck that came out and sold pizza, but there were some kids' activities, live, of course, real horses everywhere. And the mounted police came. So it's an interesting event. People seem to enjoy it.
Stacy, on that fall festival, you're willing to have your group spearhead that if we can find some other volunteers to work with you?
Yeah, we could staff it. It's always hard that weekend, and historically when we've done that, but we're back up to having our staff now. So I think we could staff it for the weekend. And I think it would be a nice community opportunity for us.
Good, thank you. Well, I appreciate that. Any questions for Stacy's report? Moving on, we're going to hear from our director, Karen.
Okay, well, we've already covered the first thing, as we typically do with the library expansion, with the update and change orders. So moving on, we can discuss the tax rate hearing. The reminder is that that is next Tuesday evening. We're scheduled for 4:30 p.m. And of course, you know, there's no, you all don't need to attend unless you want to. I have been in touch with Melody Troggett at the courthouse, and fiscal court is meeting via Zoom now, but she said that we could still have access to the courthouse. So I told her that we would go ahead and have our hearing in person. And I have submitted the preliminary tax form to get on their agenda and in their board packet. And I asked her if I needed to attend the fiscal court meeting via Zoom to present the tax rates, and she said that no, that was not necessary. So, if, you know, as far as the tax hearing, you know, if I'll go over and I'll wait, and if anyone, you know, wants to come in and discuss the rates, which are staying the same as last year, I'll be happy to meet with, you know, whomever and talk to them. And then if there's no one, we'll wait till about 5 o'clock. And if no one comes, then the paperwork goes right in, you know, to fiscal court at 5:30. And fiscal court's actually having their tax rate hearing at 5 p.m. that day. So it should go really well. And then the next day I will need, the next day or the day after, I'll need a board member to go ahead and certify the paperwork, and we can file it at the courthouse. And so
If you happen to have checks that need signed, I'm happy to certify.
okay, there's one rate that needs to be that needs a notary. So, but we can.
Unfortunately, I gave up my notary, so.
But we'll get that one. That's separate than the property tax. So we'll get that figured out. So that's all lined up, and like I said, it should work out just fine.
Karen, could you just touch about masks and what your feeling is for what's going to go on next week and maybe the next month?
Yes, sir. Well, actually, if I may I just go ahead and speak about the next item on the agenda?
Sure.
Okay, because it kind of all dovetails together.
All right.
And the item on the agenda is in-person programming. And this is, you know, this is a discussion I think that every public library in the Commonwealth is having at this moment. Melissa, if you'd like to weigh in, this would be a great time.
It's just a big discussion. I know there's at least one library in the region that has gone just to curbside service only, just because cases are going up in their areas. Things are moving kind of back to virtual. They're planning virtual things for a lot of libraries. There's also libraries that are just planning to do things as outdoors as much as possible while the weather holds, or just having things but doing them in small numbers and asking people to register so that they can cap them at limits so that they can ensure spacing. So I think there's a vast difference in what people are doing, but everybody is being very cautious and thoughtful about how to keep their patrons and their staff safe.
Thank you. So it's a very difficult spot to be in. Like I said, the masking, the staff is all wearing masks and taking all the precautions that we can, but we do know that there's not a mask mandate in place. So we can recommend masks, but we cannot enforce that. And so the question becomes, do we want to continue with in-person programming in the library, knowing that there will be attendees that may or may not be masked, which is not normally a problem, The problem now is that we are in a position where the numbers are just exploding.
Karen,
I,
can the library itself not mandate that masks be worn?
I would not recommend that. I think that we would be putting our staff in a precarious position of having to
Mandate.
enforce that. This is a very hot topic for some folks. And so it would, I think, put us in an awkward position.
My point being, there's so many children right now that are becoming ill. Pediatric ICU units are overrun, and it seems this new variant seems to be hitting children in a terrible way. And there's, so many children in both libraries. I would just, it's terrifying, I think, the thoughts that.
Karen, do we still have masks available to hand out should someone arrive and not have a mask, but if recommended, or offered one, they would have one available?
Yes, and we give them out. We have had, our staff, we recommend masking, and the patrons will choose not to. Okay.
Well, I would assume if they came in without one on, they're probably,
That's correct. Yes.
Well, to Karen's point, even if the library mandates that you mask, you're still going to get people that show up and say, I don't have to wear a mask. It's my, so, and that, I agree that puts the employees in a bad position to then have to argue or try to reason with people that aren't going to wear masks anyway. Because people aren't even wearing masks at hospitals. I was at the hospital today for a doctor's appointment, and there's a mandate there from the governor, and people are arguing about that. So I think, like Karen said, it would be hard to get, without an official government mandate, it would be hard to get people to wear masks. And that's a lot to ask the employees to do. Even with a government mandate, you can't always get people to wear masks.
To transition just slightly to the other point of what to do about programming. I watched, Karen, I believe you were the one who sent it out, the presentation that Dr. Stack, the public health commissioner for the state, gave to the nonprofit network, the Kentucky Nonprofit Network. I thought that was eye-opening and it was enlightening. And his position was, the more you can reduce interactions, the better off we are. So, I would say that to the extent we can do events in an outdoor setting or in a situation where there would be significant spacing, I would definitely recommend that. And we should probably, move as many things as we can to a virtual situation. That's just my thinking. I think we have to get back into the mindset of where we were in, March or May of last year, 2020, rather than into 2021. The numbers, I used to live in Louisiana. I saw today that Louisiana had its highest infection rate in ever during the entire pandemic yesterday, more than ever before. It's not getting better. It's not staying the same. It's getting much, much, much worse. And as Dr. Stack explained, where we are because of the way vaccinations and how they have to be spaced, it's going to stay this way for the next 3 months. Even if every single person went and got vaccinated, that's unvaccinated, got back their first vaccination today, they still have to wait the 6 weeks until they can get their second vaccination. Then it's 2 weeks after that before it becomes fully effective. So you're looking at the beginning of October, even if every single person who's unvaccinated got vaccinated today. I think we really need to start making as many of our activities as we can virtual again. I don't know that we need to go to curbside only, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I don't know that it's that necessary.
I think
Karen,
that, I'm sorry.
I would suggest that we put a sign on the door suggesting that our patrons wear masks so that we can keep the library open. It might influence some to wear masks.
Yes.
Good point.
Like I said, this is a struggle, and I do think that we need to come up with something definitive. And this is in no way judging or anything. I'm just going to say that I did witness an in-person program at the library, which was wonderful, but it was well attended and there were no masks. Okay, so now what we're looking at is, are we creating a congregate environment, okay, where we can't enforce masks? And I mean, this is it's a very, very hard thing to just, to have straightforward rules about. I mean, for us on the front line, having a gray area is very difficult to operate under. Okay, so I think either my recommendation would be to, if we want to continue to have programs, that they be outdoor programs, much like the fall festival that we could participate in, or the equine where it's in a very large barn. I think that having indoor programs, and our community rooms are large, but you put 20 people in there and it's you're in pretty close quarters. We can open the windows and turn the fan on, but I don't know if that is the safest thing that we could do for our patrons. So in the end, do we sacrifice a little to save a lot?
If we're going to do outdoor events, are we going to limit the amount of people?
Not at the outdoor programs. I don't think it would be, if we can accommodate them.
Okay.
Just
because sometimes at outdoor events, you still get a lot of people without masks.
Yeah.
Dating and
yeah. I mean, there's no question. There's no question that they're, but like I said, the staff, we do everything we can to maintain, the safety, but, we want to stay open too.
Yes, I agree.
And if I have a COVID outbreak that runs through the staff, well, we won't be able to keep the doors open.
Yeah.
So it's such a dilemma, but I think the time is now for us to really make some decisions. And if the decision is to maintain in-person programming, we will move forward with that. And time will tell. So,
Karen, you're going through the second phase of this problem, and you handled the first phase very well. And I would rely on your historical experience. When you think it's ready to go to limitations, to go to just pick up or whatever, you let us know, because you're there every day on the front lines. And it's unfortunate that a lot of your employees have to take up the argument, would you please put on a mask for everybody else's sake? I like Bill's idea, and make sure that sign is like 3 by 5 so everybody sees it as they go in.
Well, I like his idea too. If you like our library and you want it to stay open, please wear a mask.
We're still offering Carside pickup.
Oh yes, we never stopped. Yeah. Absolutely. Yes.
Do we still have people who take advantage of it?
Yes, as a matter of fact, today I had someone call and I spoke to her, and she's compromised and thought it was just the best thing ever. So I mean, it's working. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Annie, do you have any input on your ideas of what you're doing up at the headquarters of the junior college?
We're under CPE, so that's a little bit different. We are masking indoors right now. That is the on-campus guidance, and that's what we're doing. I do like Bill's idea for the sign. I think that that's an effective way to do it, and maybe just reminding people that we do have curbside and that that's still running should they choose to want to get service that way.
I have a question sort of related to this on the lines of people being in the library. The last several times I've been in there, I've noticed there's a group of young people that are hanging out at a table at the foot of the stairs. Do you know where I'm talking about, Karen?
Yep.
And they have food and they are just seem to be there for the day or whatever. I don't know if they are. I don't know how long they're there, but they're certainly not masked. And one question, are they allowed to have food in there? And what are they doing? And should they be hanging there? That puts everything out in the air, you know.
Well, surely that's been a constant problem for the library staff. There is a group of younger people that take advantage of it because they're not creative enough to find any other things to do or places to go.
Could we
Karen?
put up a sign due to COVID, extended, you know, this, or move the table or whatever?
You know, I mean, you know, when we had limited seating, you know, back in the day, we had it all stored, you know, and then we thought we were getting back to normal. But as far as, we have a number of patrons that spend a good amount of time with us. And I mean, we had at one point, you know, asked people to limit their visiting time to 1 hour or less. But once again, that's almost, I mean, it's very difficult to enforce. You know, it's kind of like we had like this like shutdown, and then once it opened back up, it's kind of hard to shut it back down.
Well, I certainly did.
So I think that, I guess, like for tonight, the guidance that we need to establish as a group is the question of the in-person programming.
Karen, I would be in favor of limiting the indoor. You know, if we have to stop it for a time, I think it's a good idea to do that. I would support that, but if you want to keep it running, I could support that too.
I mean, you know, my heart tells me, you know, that it would be great to keep it, and it's wonderful having people back, but then my gut is, are we doing the right thing?
Right.
By creating these congregate events indoor.
I agree, Karen, and I'll even move to cancel our in-person indoor events.
So just so I'm clear, we're going virtual, but still doing in-person outdoor.
Correct. That's what my motion would be.
I second that motion.
And may I ask that there be a time limit? Could we say this, we're going to do this till the end of September or till the next board meeting, if that's okay?
Sure, I'll say till I'll even do you one better. I'll say till the October board meeting.
I think that's agreeable.
Yeah, I second that.
Well, we haven't got it called up yet.
I thought Patrick did.
We're looking at a motion from Patrick to have no in-person meetings until the 1st of October, Patrick?
I would say till the October meeting, the regularly scheduled October meeting.
The third Wednesday of October.
Right.
And they could be virtual. Masks should be asked to be worn in the library and offered to them. Does
Right.
that just about cover it?
And then
Yeah.
we can in-person outdoor.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, with that conglomeration, do I have a second to that?
I second
Second.
that. Mhm.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. It's passed unanimously. And once again, Karen, I think those two signs in the front doors and the rear door, make them big enough, and so that when they're reaching for the handle, they got to see it.
They'll do.
Can I ask a question for the minutes, please? Sorry. So the motion was to cancel indoor events until at least the October meeting?
That,
Or should I say in-person events? Because I think that in person, we're still talking about outdoor events. We could do
In person, indoor.
in person, indoor.
Thank you, Stacy.
I really appreciate that. I know this was a difficult decision for everyone involved. But like I said, hopefully an ounce of prevention will help us on these dire times. I mean, 18 months of this, it's getting a little tiring, I think, for all of us. So maybe by the time the October board meeting rolls around, things that will have cooled off and we can start back up. I mean, we are so ready to go. And I just pray for better times. I really do. But thank you.
Well, thank you, Karen. And if for some reason this thing turns south on us real quick, you let everybody know if you feel that we ought to shut down or change our hours.
Yes, I will do. Thank you so much.
Okay. Your policy manual,
Yes.
sections 2 and 3.
Yes, I included that. Like I said, this is also an arduous task. The 2 policy sections I put in the board packet with the recommended changes and or not corrections, but changes. And section 2, the code of ethics. The ALA has added an additional section, which is listed as the last bullet point on page 1. We would like to add that content to that policy.
Has everybody had a chance to go over these?
Yes.
Patrick, Bill, Annie?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I went through it in excruciating detail.
Why would I not think so?
Well, Stacy brought to me some questions about section 3 specifically. And I unfortunately I got back to her relatively late at night with my suggestions, so they're not on there. But I didn't know if she wanted to discuss that or not.
Are we okay with the section 2 adding that?
I'll put a motion forward to add that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any further discussion? It's accepted as a unanimous vote. And now on section 3, Stacy, did you have something you wanted to add?
The changes that Karen and I discussed are in there and highlighted, but the question I sent to Patrick was just the very beginning of that library services under, it was the Title 6. I just wanted to find a way to actually add sexual orientation and gender identity into those protected classes. And so Patrick had a very, very thorough and very thoughtful answer, but it boiled down to the county government and both city governments have a fairness ordinance, and we could rely on that to include sexual orientation and gender identity. That has not been added to this because it's something we've been discussing. But I think that we should think about it seriously.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. I did read Patrick's comments, and I thought they were indeed valid, and we could always add that verbiage and then send this out for next month for approval, so you all can actually read that, and I would recommend that. But there are some other things in this section that we do need to discuss this evening, if we may.
Go ahead.
Okay, great. Let's see. Page 3, children's library card. We would like to delete that legal guardians are required to show proof of guardianship.
I put a motion for that.
Why don't we wait till these all go through and we can do it all at once?
Gotcha, Mo.
And actually what we could do is agree on the changes or disagree, and then we'll change the policy, and then you all can vote on the whole thing next month. Is that okay? Okay.
Very good. Good suggestion.
Okay, great. Okay, and then the next section to discuss is 3.2.3, the teacher institutional card. We would like to add the last sentence that the library will work with the teachers to extend due dates, and also that institutional cards are not issued. So if we could add that to that section.
Sounds great.
Yep.
Okay. Three point 2.5 transient library card. We want to take out the May purchase, a $10 transient borrower's card, and just state that they are eligible for a card that's valid for 3 months.
And then I noticed if you do that, you then need to take out of the chapter that the fee is not refundable.
Perfect. That's what we're looking for. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is that agreeable? Just to strike the
I'm curious why you want that. I know other states that I've gone to, they've always stuck you for something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's almost like the fees are getting a lot of hesitation, you know, and we really truly don't have a lot of transient library cards, but we could certainly leave it in there.
I was wondering how many we possibly had.
Yeah.
That's a game changer.
I don't love the charging people for the transient library card. Like if your grandma comes or something and she wants to check out some books.
Well, typically, historically, yes, and that's a very good point. Because I probably haven't been charging as many transients as I should have over the years, because a lot of the story is I'm home here to take care of my grandmother.
Yeah.
For a couple of months, or, you know, it's kind of stories like that. And I'm always like, oh, okay. You know, so it just seems like it's kind of run its course, but.
I'm not against fees, trust me, but I feel like this one is not necessary. That's just me.
I just think the library has a value to be used, and local residents pay for it through the taxes, where out of state, you know, I would expect that there's a value there.
That's a good.
And what's to prevent someone just coming in and say, oh, I want a library card, take out 5 books and then never return?
Yep.
It's just my opinion that you know, there's value to it.
Karen, how do you handle somebody that comes in that's not a Woodford County resident, but they present their Lexington card or Bowling Green library card or whatever?
That's further down. Yeah. Isn't there like 5 counties that we give them to, and then the rest?
That's a, yeah, that if they're in a contiguous county, that's like a non-resident library card.
Reciprocity.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
But like I said, I'm more than willing to leave the fee in there. We just thought we would put it up for consideration.
All right. Anything else, Karen?
Yes. So shall we leave it in there then?
I think the consensus is to leave it in.
Okay.
Anybody disagree?
Leave in the fee or take it out?
Leave it as is, not change it.
Leave the fee.
That's fine.
Okay. Is that okay? Okay, moving on. 3.2.7, we're going to strike that if the cardholder is not in good standing, that they cannot use the library's computers. We haven't been enforcing that in a long time. I don't think that if you're you have a fine on your library card that you shouldn't be allowed to use the computers. So if
That's the
someone's in
answer for Midway.
It's going by my house too, Stacy.
Okay.
Um,
So are we good with taking that out? So folks that can continue to use the computers. It's okay?
Are you comfortable with that, Karen?
Yeah.
Good. Let's take it out.
Okay. 3.2.9. Library patrons are responsible for returning all materials on time and in good condition. The failure to do so will result in fines and fees. So this goes back to, are we going to reinstate library fines?
I say yes.
As I recall, we were in the, if you lost the material or destroyed the material, you had to pay for replacement, but we weren't going to charge fees for late return.
When did that change? Did that change in COVID that you weren't charging late fees?
Mhm.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
But
But
now,
then we made it permanent, as I recall,
why?
because frankly, it's a pain to collect them. It's not worth collecting. It's the same. They had a huge fight about it at the state level about water bills. People getting charged fees to pay their water bill, that pay their water bills late. Turns out it doesn't actually have any impact on people paying on time. It actually makes it more difficult.
Well,
I'm
add,
fine with stopping the fees, but I also think there should be a process where if someone is late with a bunch of materials and doesn't return them, that we don't continue allowing them to take stuff out.
That's great. I agree with that.
I will add also that nationwide, there is a large movement to get rid of late fines, not necessarily replacement costs, but the finding is that anything that libraries can do to reduce barriers to accessing the library, and a lot of the people that have late fines on their cards are people that don't have a lot of control over whether they get things back on time because they don't have gas money or because they don't have transportation or their children. And so that movement, and it doesn't, like Patrick said, it doesn't really affect, having a 25-cent item, a fine on their book doesn't really motivate people to get stuff back on time.
And it really doesn't make the library money.
Yeah, exactly. And so anything that they can do, especially as a measure of goodwill, to reduce barriers to the library and encourage people to come back and use the library is of much more benefit to the library than nickel and diming people. So that's, it's not, I don't know, I don't have numbers on how many, but it's been something that's been on the listservs for the directors, and just more and more libraries are going with reducing the late fines to nothing. If something is 4 weeks overdue, then they're going to have a replacement charge on their card for the item, and then that goes away when they bring it back. But there is, like you said, still the limit. If they've got a lot of stuff checked out, then they can't check out more things until they bring those back. So there's not like an unlimited take everything in the library home, but reducing those barriers to access is.
What if you said instead that if you have overdue materials, no new materials may be checked out?
That's what Bill mentioned.
The circulation system has built-in stops that do that for us. But I think that under 3.2.9, if we want to just kind of reword that if items are returned damaged, that you would have to pay the replacement cost. I don't know if does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good.
And Patrick and Stacy and the rest, did we have a date of the permanent of stopping the fines? I know that we had put it in place and then we extended it.
You talked about it in the spring when you talked about stopping charging for using the fax machine and copies and stuff.
I'd probably review the minutes, but I do know that it was revisited and it was extended. I don't think it was indefinitely, but I feel like it
I
was.
thought we did make it permanent.
Okay, we can go back and review
Yeah.
that. And if we can't find it, then I'll put it on the agenda for next month.
As I recall, we initially, at the beginning of COVID, did it for 1 year. It was to the end of last year.
Mhm.
And we revisited it in December. So I would visit the December minutes because I think at that point was when we made it permanent.
Okay, and I'll make sure that if the minutes don't reflect that
Come back to us.
precisely, yes, we'll come back to you. Yeah, indeed. Okay, so the third paragraph in that section, the cost of a replacement library card is $1. We've thought that that may once again also be a barrier, as Melissa spoke to. There was actually a lot of talk about this on the director's listserv this week. And really, truly, that's not a significant source of income for us, but it could keep someone from getting access to the library. We simply don't have the dollar. So I didn't know if that would be something we would like to take out.
I'll be honest, I almost never remember to bring my physical card to the library with me when I check things out. So
Karen, do you just want to put these all together and we'll bring them up next meeting and vote on them?
Well, we have to, we kind of have to go through them. I'm
All right.
sorry. I'm
I'm
sorry.
I'm fine with taking that one out because it kind of, to the same point Melissa made, is a barrier.
I agree.
with that.
Okay. Okay, and I promise we'll go through these quickly. The suspension of privileges,
What's the number on that, Karen?
let's see, it's it's the last paragraph of 3.2.9. We would like to strike borrowing and computer privileges are suspended temporarily when a cardholder owes $5 or more in fees or has library materials. I think
All
that we can leave borrowing, but computer privileges will be, I mean, I think we just need to strike computer privileges in that. Like they can still use the computer if they have a fine, basically.
Well, are we doing fines?
Then we're not doing fine. So
No. If people have returned lost, or I mean, if they have damaged items or lost items, then they will be charged for those. So, I mean, you could have a $50 charge on your card.
right, but would that be considered a fine, or would it be, I guess, a fee?
A fee?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll reword this for.
Yeah, the reason the $5 or more is confusing because your overdue fees can go up to $5.
Right, but we don't, but
You're not gonna be doing overdue fees.
we're not gonna do over.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I told you this policy stuff was fun, remember?
Mhm.
Promises kept. 3.3 loan policies. We would like to strike videos. We no longer have those.
Okay.
Yes.
And 3.3.1 is also goes back to the fines. And 3.3.3 are fines as well. So it looks like we'll go back and we'll look at the minutes just to see exactly how this was set up, and then we can discuss that at next month's board meeting. So we can skip that and go to 3.4.1. We want to strike the last sentence. We no longer do that.
Sounds great.
Okay, section 3.6, strike the resource such as learningexpresslibrary.com. That's no longer done.
Okay.
3.8, homework assistance. We would like to strike, however, the library is unable to make available specific space for tutoring or instruction. We do allow tutors to meet with their students here.
Sounds good.
Okay. 3.10, outreach. We would like to strike early childhood literacy, literacy and add lifelong learning.
I like
And,
that.
and then we're also going to acknowledge that we go to adult daycares and senior facilities.
I think that's wonderful.
Okay, 3.11, service fees. That we would like to, I guess, we had stopped charging for photocopies and printouts and faxes. And we didn't know if we wanted to make that permanent as well. And it's my understanding that once we remove a fine or a fee, that if we ever want to implement them again in the future, that has to go to fiscal court and be approved.
Karen, what's to keep me from bringing my last 10 years of taxes of 80 pages each year and want them all copied for free?
Right, that's basically what we've been doing for the past year or 18 months, but I don't have a problem charging for photocopies.
Either do I.
And faxes, we had typically been charging $1 per page for faxes.
But you scan for free.
True.
I don't think you get many faxes, do you?
We had a lot.
Oh, really?
We do. And I would consider probably just dropping the fax fee because it really doesn't cost us a whole lot, especially sending them. Now, if we wanted to charge for receiving them, I know we're getting in the weeds here, or we could just let it, just maintain it as is.
I mean, how much is it to like make or print out? Is it 10 cents?
Yeah, it's only 10 cents a page.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
people don't have problems with that.
you're paying for the paper.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
that's
but
fine.
Molly, you're not paying for the individual's time to get up from their desk, drop what they're doing, walk over, get it done. That has a value too.
No, I was agreeing that we should charge them.
Okay. So do we want to keep the service fees?
I agree.
I would say, yeah, not the part where it says fines are charged for overdue materials, but
Right.
the rest of it.
Gotcha. Okay, very good.
Aaron, to go to your question about if you drop a fee, can you add it back without approval? I think library charges are an exemption, but I can check on that with you and get back with you.
Okay.
Because I think there's a thing that says, fines and fees have to be approved, but I don't know that library charges for overdues and things like that are considered the same kinds of fines and fees that statute is talking about. But I can check on that and get back with you.
Okay. Sounds good.
Is Magistrate Gill still there? Would she know?
I am.
Mary Ann, do you know anything about that?
About what?
If we drop charging fees in the library
Oh,
and
what
then
Karen
want to
said a minute ago.
reinstate it. And then
No,
reinstate-
I've never
Okay.
heard that done in the 6 years, well, almost 7 years I've been there. I've never seen that done, but then I don't think you've dropped any fees.
Yeah, I think it's new. I mean, Melissa, is that correct? Like it's just.
I don't know. I mean, the
Yeah.
only thing that's new as far as like, I want to, because I think like what I'm thinking about, the thing that's new is the fiscal court having to approve if you want to set your tax rates over a thing, over the compensating that's new, that has to be approved. But as far as the fines and fees,
There was a change though.
there was a change to that.
Yeah.
Okay, I will check on that and get back with you and see.
Okay, and I remember seeing it on the director's listserv or
Okay,
in one of the monthly reports.
all right, I will get back with you on that
Okay.
and let you know.
Okay, good. Karen?
Okay, so we're gonna keep the printing charge and Joshua, I think that's it for section 3.
Right.
There's one more down by public computers. Patrons may print letter-sized pages from the internet for a cost of 10 cents per page.
Yes, and I thought we were gonna keep the,
Is that part of it? Okay.
I guess the copies in printing, 10 cents a page. Okay.
Aaron, the only other thing was under 3.3 loan policies. We had thought that maybe we would extend from 4 DVDs to 10 DVDs at a time.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, it currently our policy is 4 DVDs, but we would like to raise the lending limit to 10.
I like that.
Sure. Does anyone actually ever take out 25 magazines at a time?
Stacy?
All right. With all our discussions on the policy manual, Karen's going to rewrite these and present them to us for a vote next month, correct?
Correct.
All right. Moving on to unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business?
Did I miss the financial report?
It has not been brought up.
Oh,
You're
yeah,
right.
it was not, we skipped the financial report. Oh, my goodness.
Yes,
need
we
to go
did.
back.
Item number 3.
Okay. Here we go. Of course, as always, if you have any questions about any of the transactions, I'd be happy to report. I will point out that there is a new it's a correction. It's the account activity on the construction account. There's, if you'll look under assets, there is a US bank account for $917.98 that's been added to the account activity, and that is the clearing account that our bondsmen use to get the bond money to us.
Okay.
And we thought that they were going to close that account and send us a check for that amount. But what they're going to do is keep the account open. When our first payment is due on the bond, they're going to take that $917.98 and apply it to our payment
All right, good.
to zero out the balance. That sounds a little convoluted to me, but that's what they're going to do. And then our payment will be lowered by that amount. But other than that, if we're, first month into the fiscal year. Any questions?
What about this thermal equipment services?
I'm sorry?
The thermal equipment services?
Yes, that's on my laundry list of off the agenda stuff, if that's okay.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the financial report.
I second that motion.
Well, as president, I'm calling for a motion to approve the financial report. Do we have a motion, Patrick?
So moved, Mel.
All right, and a second, Molly?
Second.
All right, vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, no. Discussions, it was unanimously voted on. And we're still following Robert's Rules of Order. All right, any other unfinished business?
I have a few things, just a few things, or I guess this could be considered new business. I apologize. Sorry, no unfinished business.
Any new business, Karen?
Yes, please. Thank you. So you all approved the minutes from this board meeting, so we'll have to get new signature cards at the bank. And Mo, when you're back in town, I'll get with you and Patrick, and we'll get that taken care of. And the thermal equipment estimate that was in your board packet, we have a unit that needs a new compressor. And the estimate for repair is $2,817.
Is this for the new building or just?
Existing building, it's up here. So I just wanted to show that to you. And
You don't need a motion for that one. You have,
no, I just, it's, they're getting really pricey, the repairs, because the equipment is getting older. You know, it's 16 years old. So when I'm having like these hefty bills, I'll probably, you know, put them in the board package just so you all are aware that we've got, you know, some repairs coming along. So that was just more like an FYI type thing. And then the last item I have is Stacy Thurman is she's auditing an accounting class at Midway University. And how many C's are you able to?
All right. I could get up to 60 and I only need 100 for 5 years.
So this is actually very beneficial to us as far as her certification. The price of the class is $500. And I was hoping to recommend that we would pay half of that through our continuing education fund. As a reimbursement to her. It would be no more than sending her to a conference. So this is actually a really good opportunity to get a hefty amount of CEs at a decent price. So that was.
I think we carry that money as for continuing education in our budget. And if I remember right, we didn't spend any last year, did we, Karen?
Not very much, no, sir. There weren't any conferences to go to.
I would entertain a motion that we cover half of Stacy's $500 fee.
So moved.
Yeah, I second that.
Hey, that's a bargain.
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
All opposed? With no opposition, it passed unanimously. Congratulations, Stacy, and we appreciate your work to continue our education.
I appreciate it. Thank you all.
That's all I have.
One quick thing, Karen, do you have a gut feeling of when that unit on the building is going to need to be replaced? 5 years, 10 years? How long can we fix it?
Oh, the unit that they're for the repair, the heat pump repair. That's in the package.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, these things, you know, we have some units that have been fine almost the whole entire time, you know, but every so often, you know, the compressor goes out or, you know, or this or that.
Sure.
So that's hard to say. But I know the replacement cost is going to be a lot more than the $2,800. So.
Yep. All right. Thank you for staying on that. Any other new business?
I have a question. Well, it's not really a question. It's a topic. Do we ever do any plaques or anything for like passed away employees, for like Emily sold her home? Because wasn't she the adult program manager or director for 10 years?
Yes, she was the adult services librarian.
Mm-hmm.
We don't typically do like a separate plaque. We do have the wall.
Mm-hmm.
If we would like to, you know, have something placed on there.
Why don't we leave, that's a good idea, Molly. Why don't we leave that up and everybody think about that and we can bring it up for discussion. We did do some family to family contacting. Emily's family is quite reserved, and I think what we did was the amount of recognition that or more than they even expected. If you have any other ideas, any other board member, give them to myself or Karen, and we'll talk about it next time.
Okay.
I'm looking for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll give that motion.
Second
Second.
on that? All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimously, the meeting is over. We'll see you in 1 month.
Thank you all for your time.
Stay
Thank you
safe.
so much.
Have a good birthday, Mo.
Happy
Thank
birthday.
you. Yeah, thank you very much. It's quite nice to be with my family. It's, I have to say it is a milestone, but I'm very thankfully in my life and all the good things and the people I've been able to help over the years. Thank you very much.
Thank
See you
you.
next time.
Safe
Yeah.
travels. Safe travels.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Stace, do you want to end the YouTube and then we can get the typo corrected? Thanks, you all.